Hi, I'm here to clear up myths surrounding the NAR settlement and the lawsuits surrounding that settlement. Basically, the concept of the settlement was that real estate agents need to get buyer agency agreements signed with their buyer clients, number one. Uh, 18 states do have buyer agency laws already in place, so it's just going to be the remaining 32 states in the District of Columbia that will have to have buyer agent agreements signed prior to showing properties to the buyers so that they're aware of what their obligations are under the buyer agency agreement. And secondarily, MLSs will no longer publish buyer agent compensation. So the reason for that is during the lawsuit, the plaintiffs claimed that real estate agents steered clients to properties that offered higher compensation. Um, I never experienced it. It may or may not have happened, but regardless, that was the claim. And therefore, that's what the reaction from NAR was. NAR did agree to a settlement. The judges still have to approve it. The court still has to approve it. So we'll see how that goes here over the next several months. These changes will take effect mid July to early August. So, what does all this mean? What this means is that buyer agents will have consultations with their buyers and determine what their obligations will be if the seller opts to not pay a buyer agent compensation. This lawsuit and this settlement and the settlement of other companies does not relieve the seller of paying buyer agent compensation. It's just not going to be published. Now, the other thing is commissions are negotiable. Commissions have always been negotiable. And in this seller's market, the sellers may elect to not pay a buyer agent any compensation. It's their right. It's not necessarily the way that's going to get them the most eyeballs on their house and get them the most money for their house, but it is a way for them to determine if they want to pay a buyer agent compensation or not. Um, Again, the myth that I've heard is that prices are going to come down. Sellers are not going to reduce their prices if they no longer pay a buyer agent or if they elect to pay a buyer agent less compensation than they did in the past. Um, but that being said, um, the cost could potentially go up for buyers in the transaction if they agree to a compensation with their buyer agent and the seller's not offering that same amount of money. So there's going to be some negotiations that go on in a transaction, and there's going to have to be conversations that are held prior to showing properties with listing agents to see what the compensation is going to be if offered at all. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of time consuming energy and effort will be spent to try and determine if in fact the buyer is going to be responsible for paying the buyer agent compensation or if the seller is going to pay it. So again, prices are not going to come down. Um, Sellers can still pay buyer agent compensation. Commissions are negotiable, always have been, always will be. And the next thing is in my opinion, the fallacy behind the agent compensation drove up prices. Agent compensation did not drive up prices. What drove up prices were market conditions. And most recently, the Federal Reserve's policy to reduce the Fed rates to zero, thereby having mortgage rates in the 2.5% to 4% range, which drove up demand, which drove up multiple contracts, and therefore prices escalated in some areas as much as 40% over a year and a half, 2 year period of time. Now, the Fed has raised the rates and it has raised interest rates, and we now have a lock in effect from mortgage rates on sellers. And so, therefore, inventory is less, thereby making prices higher. So, it's a supply and demand thing. It's not a commission thing. Realtor commissions did not drive up prices. That is a huge fallacy and one that is just, in my opinion, bogus. But in addition to that, real estate commissions are, again, very rarely above 6%. And if you compare us to auction houses, commercial brokers, um, business brokers, our commission is less than those, way less than the attorneys who are collecting fees of 33.5 to 40% in conjunction with this lawsuit. So again, we did not drive up prices due to our commissions. And again, um, it's been a very reasonable fee for the services that we provide to both buyers and sellers in this. Now, the other thing is, I think this is going to result in a more professional agent, because you cannot be a part-time agent in this business and put in the time, energy, and effort to help the clients both sell and buy properties. It's going to be a good thing there. I also wanted to talk about what the plaintiffs claimed that the real estate industry did over a number of years. And number one is that we colluded, that we all got in a room behind closed doors and everyone agreed that we were only going to charge 6% interest rates. That's just not true. We didn't collude, but that's what they claimed, and that's what the judge and the jury ruled that we did. I'm going to let you know, I've never sat in a room and done that. I've never heard of anybody sitting in a room and doing that. Again, we were the judge affirmed the jury's decision that that's what we did, but I know from my heart that we never did. And then also steering buyers to properties with higher commissions, never done it. Maybe some agents did, but getting rid of the compensation field in MLS will definitely stop that practice from happening if agents did in fact do it. So it's going to be a little bit of a workout, see where the market goes, what happens with market dynamics, our forms, and how the forms are going to change, and how agents communicate with their clients. Again, I think it's going to be a more informed client going forward. I think it's going to be a more professional agent going forward. Will there be other models coming out of this? Yes, there will be fee for service companies, fee for service realtors, um, writing contracts, showing properties. There'll be some hourly rates potentially, so much like an attorney. So there's going to be some changes coming up. I'm here to help you answer any questions for you that you might have in regards to this. So please feel free to reach out to me. Scott McDonald, 703-727-6900, or Scott McDonald at remax.net. Thanks, and we will talk to you soon.